Hi, this is Arlene Romasanta, your subject matter expert for the course Data Security. Today, we will cover Module 1, the Data Security Concepts. At the end of the course, the participants will be able to understand data security, identify essential elements for data security, learn the data security policies, recognize data security best practices. This module will tackle about data security concepts. For the first module, we will be talking about three topics. What is data security, types of data, and characteristics of data. To begin this lesson, let us ask, what is data security? Data security is the process of protecting data from unauthorized access and data corruption in every step of its life cycle. One single vulnerability is all an attacker needs. What are your thoughts on this? A vulnerability is a weakness in the system. It is the inability to safeguard your assets or your data infrastructure. An attacker is looking for an even single vulnerability in order to penetrate into the system, more so on the valuable data. You can compare this to a thief who looks for the most advantageous time, the most open area where he can break in, and same thing with your data infrastructure. It is not data that is being exploited. It's people that is being exploited. What are your thoughts on this? Is it the data or is it the people? Yes, it is the data that is being accessed by the hackers. But these data are owned by the people, and some of the targets are personal data. The hackers use this data for their own benefit. Are humans a threat or asset in cybersecurity? Any thoughts on this? Threat versus asset. Who could be threats and who could be assets when it comes to securing your data infrastructure? Humans can be the source of threat. Why? Humans are the ones responsible for securing your data infrastructure. They possess all the necessary skills to manage and secure your data assets. They have all the full access and most privilege in handling your infrastructure. They are capable of moving the data. Since they have all those qualities, they could be a threat and also an asset. That's why these days there is this so-called zero trust technology. The concept is that nobody can be trusted. Security in IT is like locking your house or car. It doesn't stop the bad guys, but if it's good enough, they may move on to an easier target. What can you say? Is it true? Do you agree? We do all we can to secure our places and our cars. But we even apply sophisticated technology. But if the attackers are persistent and determined, they can still break in. But the good thing is, if you employ layers of security, it will take them some time to penetrate. It will challenge their ability. They will experience difficulty. And if that is the case, they may shy away when target those who are easy to penetrate. And all of these things defines why data security is an essential part of data infrastructure. Now let us move on with types of data. Internal data. These data are generated by the organization. They are usually stored within the organization, except for the application of cloud technology nowadays. It allows organizations to gain insights from this data and use them for improvement. Internal data may include client feedback and financial data. For private organizations, this could be customer behavior, sales figures, sentiment analysis, expenses, marketing approach, social media trends, and others. Taking care of your internal data is essential in any data infrastructure. External data. External data is generated outside of the company's control. It can range from anything including tax records, police records, hospital records, weather forecast, COVID-19 cases, traffic data, and others. Data of this type can be of interest to many, and countless companies are already making use of it. A health insurance firm will be interested in the hospital records of all their customers. An agricultural company can make use of the weather-related data so they can plan all their strategies accordingly. Political campaigns leverage social media trends to improve their propaganda strategy. External data is virtually limitless in its usage. As we begin to collect more information from new devices, especially those that are connected through the IoT of Internet of Things or Internet of Things. Structured data. This is one of the simplest forms of data that every person is familiar with. Structured data, in its rawest form, simply means organized data. Data is considered organized when you can decipher what it means by looking at its structure. One of the most popular forms of organized data is table. Even on paper, we tend to separate information into rows, columns, and tables. This same modeling can allow most forms of information to take tangible meaning. For instance, your grocery list considered structured data. Items are usually listed by the name, price, and quantity. Your employee list would be by name, age, address, and sex. Your customer list would be by name, location, and product choice. Your product list would be by name, category, color, and model. In the digital world, the need for organized data grew rapidly, and soon we were presented with relational database management systems. These systems employ carefully structured tables that are linked together for use in various purposes. Unstructured data. Unstructured data is the opposite of structured data. While we expect structured data to be stored in a presentable way, unstructured data is defined by its inability to showcase meaningful information just by looking at it. Examples of unstructured data include text messages, email, articles, social media posts, web pages, audio, and video, and others. An email can contain extremely sensitive data about an organization or person. But in its natural form, we can't extract meaningful information from it. Think of it this way: how would you fit an email into a table? Same thing with the FB post, online articles, or news, audio recording, and video blogs. Without performing a precise sentiment analysis, all these data are meaningless. Open data. These data are freely available for use. Usually, these are open source data. The data generated by search engines are mostly open data. On data.gov.ph, the Philippine government put into one portal all the open data that the citizens can freely access and use. Big data. These data are larger in nature, composed of more complex datasets, voluminous, and grows over time. Has so much variety, with more velocity, and most of all have greater value. The bigger the data gets, the more complex data security has to be in place. The presence of big data gave birth to data science and made artificial intelligence, or AI, possible. Real-time data. When we say real-time data, these data are delivered immediately after collection. It incurs no delay in provisioning this data. Real-time data are often used in navigation or tracking. Examples are Google Maps or Waze, which you use in navigating to a certain location you are looking for. You get the data in real time, also using the global position system. These are all data from IoT devices, or there are also data that comes from IoT devices in drones, delivery trucks, medical devices, security cameras, construction equipment, and others. Timestamp data. These are data with corresponding time with it. Some data being gathered with timestamp are the time spent in loading a certain page in the website, time spent for a user to accomplish online tasks, time duration the user stayed in a certain page. Example is a deposit slip. There are details that include the time the money was deposited. Also, the time the payroll take effect or deposited into employees' accounts. Now let's move on with the characteristics of data. When we talk about volume, we refer to the amount of data generated, the accumulation of growth of data over time. It covers online and offline transactions. These are save-on files, records, and tables. We generate big data with the volume of data that we have every day all around the globe. Variety. We have different variety of data. It ranges from structured, unstructured, human-generated, and machine-generated. In every organization, this variety of data is present, and they must be secured. Now let us talk about veracity. Veracity is the trustworthiness or reliability of the data. It dictates the quality, which includes accuracy of data. You know, the decisions could be wrong if you have bad data. Most critical is in the court. The suspect could be the victim if the basis for the verdict is wrong data. Velocity. It is the speed of generating data. We access a lot of data every day, not only in the office but also in our personal lives. We access our online bank accounts. We pay bills and transfer funds. We deposit and withdraw. We do investments and many others. These days, we do data streaming at the office, school, church, and personal events. We access online and offline data. Some are generated in real time. The demand for data is too high that everything is pushed and pulled at a certain speed. Value. Aside from the four V's, volume, variety, velocity, we also have value. What is the essence of big data if we do not generate insights out of it? This will then be inputs to better decision making. With the proper use of data, it can improve the operational as well as financial performance of the organization. Through data, there could be ways to discover new things, products, and ideas. It can also increase customer base, generate savings, and even save lives. Now, I want to leave you with a question or questions. Do you value your data? If so, do you secure your data? For the types of data security, we begin with access controls. This type of data security measures includes putting limitation to both physical and digital access to systems and data. Examples are giving mandatory login credentials to computers and devices. On data centers and other computing environments, physical access can only be done by authorized personnel. Authentication. Similar to access controls, authentication means proving or identifying users prior to access to system. Data or entry to secured or controlled environment. Usually, these are the use of passwords, PIN numbers, security tokens, swipe cards, or biometrics. Next is backup and recovery. This is the process of securely storing extra copies of data to be accessed later in the event of breaches, disaster, data corruption, and system failure. Backup data can be stored in different modes such as physical disk or equipment, network-attached devices, or within your local network, and the cloud, which can all be accessed for the purposes of recovery. Data erasure. It is the process of overwriting data or completely removing electronic copies in a storage. The practice of data erasure verifies that the data is unrecoverable and would prevent the data to fall into the wrong hands. Data masking. It is the process of hiding the information by using proxy characters in place of letters and numbers. Actually, there are also other methods of data masking which presents a fake version of the organization's sensitive data, leading to rendering of data that is of little or no value to unauthorized intruders. Data resiliency. It is the state where data are made secure, including the hardware and software components that are used to access data which could withstand the events like natural disasters, power outages, and others. If data are resilient, it could withstand compromise in security. Encryption. It is the process of transforming the text characters into an unreadable format using encryption keys. These encryption keys can only be accessed by authorized persons that possess the keys for unlocking. The files, databases, and email communications can all be encrypted to prevent unauthorized access. Learning about different types of data security, we can say that it is always a best practice to have a backup plan. The principle is not only applicable to data security, but in most aspects of operations, including our personnel planning. Agree? We agree that data is the heart and soul of any business, and it is only imperative for us to correct or protect what we have, especially that we put hard work in collecting, organizing, cleaning, and putting value into it. Agree? Now, let us discuss the elements of data security. The CIA triad. If you would notice the figure on the right, the elements of data security are confidentiality, which represents the C in the triad, integrity, which represents the I in the triad, and the availability, which represents the A in the triad. Let us look into it one by one in the next few slides. Confidentiality, the I in the CIA triad, ensuring that data can only be accessed by authorized users with the proper credentials. The company should have a clear policy on what are the confidential data within the organization. Integrity, the I in the CIA triad, ensuring that all data stored are reliable, trustworthy, and accurate. You can only gain trust of your investors, customers, and management if the data you are showing to them are trustworthy. Availability, the A in the CIA triad. It means ensuring that data are readily available and accessible to authorized people whenever needed. It would be so frustrating to end users needing the data if they are not available and accessible at the time they need it. The CIA triad only shows that these three elements are very important in data security. That ends our Module 2. Thank you.